after a very talented and funny Jewish man. Thanks, Maverick. I appreciate that.
It's the story of my dating life, man.
You know it's bad when you set up a dating profile and no one looks at it. I'm not talking from personal experience, but yes, my name is Andrew. My professional name is Horror Show Jack, and this is going to be weird because Marty's not here. He's on a fishing trip.
It's his rings. Maybe not. Hold on.
Sounds like a horse.
I didn't break it, I swear. Oh. Okay. I'll deal with that one. Oh, there you go.
I didn't break it. All right, cool.
That's all me.
So Marty's on a fishing trip, but I remember like about a month or so ago, Maverick was out sick and he had what was it, pneumonia?
It's something I got from a stripper. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Crabs. So he wasn't here and Jim was running open mic and we were worried, but everyone lost their shit when Bud wasn't here and Marty was.
Yeah.
It was like everyone missed the dog. So this is one of my, I've added a series of cannibal jokes because I've always, I was told, someone told me this years ago, and I always throw this out there as like, cannibalism is not illegal, it's only frowned upon. The eating of human flesh is not illegal, it's the act of murder. And eventually, once you eat enough, the person dies. So we were driving home from Chicago yesterday, so I had Angela pull out her phone and write comedy notes, and I text Maverick while I'm on the road. I'm like, okay, I have some more F-bomb free material. That's kind of a lie, actually. And
Ted's not here.
I know, but I always try to write it without them just in case he stays late. So, what do you call a cannibal in a coma ward? Veggie picker. He's picking out his vegetables. What do you call a cannibal in the burn unit? I'm looking for barbecue. All right, I might scratch some of those jokes. But I read this, I literally woke up and read this morning. Someone had posted this on Instagram. Jeffrey Dahmer, before he died, he said, or I think he was murdered, but it doesn't matter. Tattoos taste awful. I'm safe. I don't know about you guys. So this past weekend, my business is I make customized fangs and sell horror teddy bears, and we were at not a usual show I do, but it's the most organized and most fun show we do all year long, and it was Exotica in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a 3-day porn convention, and there was just so much ass there.
Woo!
Like, I mean, a woman walked by, and 15 minutes later, her ass finished walking by. There were times I'm sitting at the booth making teeth, I look up, and all I see is an ass that you just look up and you're like, I came in like a wrecking ball. I mean, like, I look up and I'm like, the Richter scale is going off the scale. Now, it's very difficult to make me uncomfortable. And a little person this big really made me uncomfortable. And it wasn't because of the outfit she was wearing. It wasn't because her ass was bigger than the rest of her. But she walks in and she starts asking me about the bears, and then she looks at me and I have my teeth in, and she's like, oh, honey. Oh, and I'm looking at her, I'm like, and she keeps getting closer and closer to my leg. And I'm getting this fear that it's like, is this woman gonna just grab my leg? I was horrified because she wouldn't stop. And then she just abruptly waddled away. I know this has been going on for, it's probably been a month and a half now. I was at a show in Ohio when the Oscars were on and Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, and then a whole bunch of the comedians that I like came out and they were saying like, oh, well now this gives people the green light to just come up on stage and slap a comedian while they're performing. Now there's two things that bother me. There's several things that bother me about this. One, if you're worried about getting slapped or don't want to get slapped, don't make fun of a man's wife while he's right there. because she rolls her eyes, she might slap you, or he might slap you. And the slap is the least of your worries. But also, he was like 20, 30 feet away from her. They were on the same platform. They're both two performers. They're both movie stars. They're both action stars. They're both comedians. So they're on the same level. It's not someone else getting up out of an audience. 9 times out of 10 at a comedy club, you're in a high rise. And my first thought was like, I dare you to come and try and slap me. Because you ever see anyone get hit with a microphone? Because I will.
Some comedians like getting slapped.
Some people pay extra for it. What?
Joke's on you, I'm into that shit.
Call me.
Woo!
So, one of the vendors at Exotica was selling edibles. So we bought some, and you gave me like a quarter of one, right?
Yeah.
I haven't had an edible in probably about a year. So we go out, we have dinner, and we get back to my friend's apartment. I don't know what was said, but I couldn't stop laughing. And it got to the point where it scared the shit out of me. Not because I was gasping for air, I could still breathe, but I kept giggling. But 5 days before this event happened, we were watching 1,000 Ways to Die. And this guy died from laughing too hard. Apparently after 38 hours of constant laughing, you will eventually go into cardiac arrest. And I was laughing that hard, and all that's going through your head. It's also 1:30 in the morning, so I'm exhausted. And I can't stop laughing, and I can't stop laughing. And then I don't know what happened. I just stopped, and everyone else in the room couldn't stop laughing. So I thought this was like a supernatural event. Like a laughing ghost going something. And it just whoop. And then she started laughing, and then our 2 friends started laughing. Our friend who was letting us stay in her apartment started laughing. And I just looked up, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? All of you were laughing harder than I was 5 minutes ago. And then I looked at her, I'm like, you didn't let him get into our stash, did you? So now, I never really like to touch on current events or politics, but I'm just going to say this one thing because it's all over social media, and when it's pushed in my face enough, I can only keep my mouth shut for so long. But this whole Roe versus Wade abortion shit drives me up the wall because I'm 45 in September, and this has been an argument that is ongoing. And my whole standpoint is shut the fuck up about it. But my literal standpoint is, how about we end up getting rid of 85% of the argument by saying, if you have a penis, shut the fuck up.
Woo!
And leave your God out of this, because none of my gods have a problem with a woman making her own decision.
Yeah.
And where I grew up in Oakland, New Jersey. Now, my parents were not, okay, well, my mother was a little overprotective. But I grew up in this protective bubble. Where I was, and I grew up in the 80s in Oakland, New Jersey, and maybe it was because also I was raised Episcopalian, but racism and bigotry didn't exist where I grew up. And I wasn't too far from New York City. But I had gay neighbors. I went to a church. The priest was gay. In an interracial relationship with a black man in our choir. We had a lesbian couple that were white and black. And I didn't hear the N-word till I was in high school. I mean, like documentaries and movies and stuff, and explicit rap, yes. But I never experienced anything like this. I knew about broken homes. I didn't meet anyone who was abused till I was in high school. It was the luck of the draw. And I'm thinking, where I grew up, and I'm looking the rest of the world, I'm like, was it just a dream? Or was I not paying attention? But I feel like the way things are now should be how I grew up, because everyone accepted everyone. No one gave a crap who anyone was sleeping with, what people were doing. And I look at everything that's going on around me, and it's just, this is why I like going to the convention world, because you have the weirdest, creepiest, strangest motherfuckers there, but everyone accepts everyone. I mean, yeah, you occasionally have that one person that walks by and everyone's just, oh, I'm not talking to that person. But I'll close on this story. This is one of the strangest things that ever happened to me, because you ever have something so weird happen to you, you're like, is this reality? Did this really happen? Did you know a car crash can change your ethnicity? So, I was dating, yeah, neither did I until this event. So, I was hanging out with an ex-girlfriend, why, I don't know. And of course, reminded why we broke up, because we're arguing on the ride home, and I'm being a dickhead, and I want to make my point, because she got her point across, so I want to make my point. So I go the longer way. So I'm coming up to this Dunkin' Donuts parking lot, and this woman pulls out and just blocks the lane that I'm in. I'm doing 85 miles an hour, and 100 feet in front of me is not enough time to slam on your brakes. I have 3 options. The third one was hindsight, so I didn't think of it. The first is slam your brakes, pray to God that we stop in time. That's what I did. Obviously, you know it's a car crash, that didn't work. I could have went around, but there was a car coming this way. In hindsight, if I just hit the gas, turned my blinker on, and went down the side street, none of this would have happened. Well, I slammed on the brakes, I sideswiped this woman. Before I got out of the car, and before I asked my ex, are you okay, the last thing I remember was her head going into the windshield. Now, to be honest with you, I'm amazed it didn't go through the windshield. She was a little thick-headed. But she bounced off. I kind of laugh about it now. So I look at her, I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? And when she's like, I'm okay. And the whole thing is I don't understand why she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, because I won't let anyone drive in my car without a seatbelt. So I get out, and you know, if you've ever been in a car accident, you have that feeling after you get out of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. So I'm just standing there, and the first thing I hear that breaks the is, you motherfucking, and he calls me the N-word in the middle of the street. Why don't you watch where the fuck you're going? And I'm standing in the middle of the street just doing this. And then, out of nowhere, and I'm a creative guy, but I could not make this up. A guy wearing no shirt, no shoes, ripped jeans, looks like a plumber who just experienced a horrible, horrible accident, comes running over to me and goes, are you okay? And I'm like, and I just look at him like, I've just been in an accident. What's his problem? He goes, oh, that's his mother, don't worry, he's an asshole. So the cops eventually come, and the woman kept interrupting the cop while he was taking my statement. Well, he's going really fast. Oh, he's going really fast. And I was doing the speed limit because there were no skid marks. If I was going that fast and hit my brakes that hard, there would have been enough momentum to make skid marks, or at least that's what the cop said. So the 5th time she interrupted him, he just looked at her and goes, well, why didn't you pull out and stop? So her car got towed away and I drove my car home. A lot of damage, but she paid for it, and my ex tried to sue me. She lost, so she can go to hell. And that's my time. Guys, my name's Andrew, and I'm Horror Show Jack. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week.